You made $180,000 during World War II. You never fired a single shot. 14 soldiers bled to death because of a decision you made. This is not a war story. This is a crime story. And you got away with it. It all started in 1943. You're 19 years old. You speak English, Italian, and enough French to get by. You grew up in Brooklyn, the son of Sicilian immigrants who taught you that survival means being smarter than everyone else. When the war breaks out, you try to enlist. The recruiter looks at your feet, flat feet. No infantry for you, he says. But Uncle Sam still needs pencil pushers. Welcome to the Supply Corps, kid. You'll be counting crates while real men fight. That stings. But you're in. Limited service. You'll never see combat. You'll never be a hero. But you're wearing the uniform. And that's enough. For now. So they ship you to a quartermaster depot in Algiers, North Africa. Your job is mind-numbingly boring. Count crates, file paperwork, track inventory. The pay is $45 a month. You share a tent with 6 other guys. You eat the same canned hash every night. This is your war, counting boxes while other men fight and die. But you notice something. The system bleeds. 10 crates of medical supplies arrive, 9 get logged. A truck leaves with 200 blankets. The manifest says 150. Nobody investigates because everyone's too busy trying to win a war. You realize something profound. In chaos, there's opportunity. And war? War is the ultimate chaos. You start small. A carton of Lucky Strikes here, a case of canned beef there. Nothing anyone would miss. You sell them to Algerian locals for double what they cost the army. It feels victimless. Harmless even. The GIs have plenty of cigarettes. The locals are desperate for American goods. You're just connecting supply and demand. You're just being entrepreneurial. Your first real score comes 3 months in. A shipment of 500 wool blankets arrives damaged by seawater. The army writes them off as unsalvageable, but you inspect them. Only 100 are actually ruined. The other 400 are perfectly fine, just damp. You file the paperwork marking all 500 destroyed. You dispose of them by selling to an Arab merchant for $600 cash. That's 13 months of salary in one deal. You're hooked. Not on the money, on the game, on being smarter than the system. You start studying the supply chain like it's a college course. You learn which officers drink too much and file sloppy reports. You learn which dock workers will look the other way for a pack of cigarettes. You learn the schedule of every convoy, every inspection, every transfer point. When the Allies invade Sicily in July 1943, you request a transfer. You tell your CO you want to be closer to the action. He thinks you're patriotic. You're actually following the money. Sicily is chaos. The mafia is back in power, helping the Americans. The black market is exploding. You arrive in Palermo and it's like landing on another planet. Every street corner has someone buying, selling, trading. Gasoline, weapons, food, medicine. Everything has a price. You make contact with a man named Don Calogero. He's old school mafia, but he understands business. He needs American supplies. You need local connections. He introduces you to his network. Dock workers who can make paperwork disappear. Truck drivers who know routes that avoid checkpoints. Police officers who understand the value of selective blindness. Your first deal with Don Calogero is simple. 20 jerry cans of gasoline. The army has thousands. You lose 20 during a convoy transfer. Don Calogero pays you $200. You split it with the truck driver who helped you. Everyone wins. The army doesn't notice. You do it again and again. Within 2 months, you're moving 50 jerry cans a week. But gasoline is small time. The real money is in medicine. Sulfa drugs. Sulfanilamide powder. It's the only thing keeping soldiers alive from infected wounds. Before sulfa, a simple cut could turn gangrenous and kill you in a week. The army uses it by the ton, but the civilian population, they're dying from infections that sulfa could cure in days. Doctors will pay anything for it. Anything. You befriend a medic named Jimmy, Brooklyn kid like you. He's got access to the pharmacy tent. You explain the situation. Italian families are dying. Their kids have infections. You can get them medicine. Isn't that the right thing to do? Jimmy hesitates. You offer him $50 per canister. His monthly salary is $50. He hands you 10 canisters. You sell them to Don Calogero for $800. You give Jimmy $500. You keep $300. Everyone wins. Except maybe the soldiers who might have needed that sulfa. But there's plenty more. Probably. The business explodes. You develop a system for forged paperwork that's absolutely beautiful. Here's the trick: carbon paper. You put a thin metal plate under the second sheet. When you write 100 canisters on the original requisition, only 10 canisters transfers to the carbon copy. The Army archives the copy. You pocket the difference. It took you 2 weeks to calibrate the pressure. Too hard, the number bleeds through. Too soft, it looks suspicious. But once you get it right, it's invisible. Beautiful even. You study signatures. Sergeant Morrison in the requisition office has a slight tremor in his right hand. Parkinson's, probably. His signature always trails off at the end. You practice that tremor 500 times until your forgery shakes exactly like his. One night, an MP stops your truck. He looks at the transfer order, looks at the signature, hands it back. Move along. Your heart doesn't stop pounding for 3 hours. By early 1944, you're making $2,000 a month. You rent a small villa in Palermo. You eat in restaurants. You wear tailored suits. You have a Sicilian girlfriend who thinks you're a logistics coordinator, which is technically true. Then comes March 1944. A new inspection officer arrives. Captain Hendricks, West Point graduate, doesn't drink, doesn't gamble, doesn't take bribes. You tried. He announces a surprise audit of the medical depot. You have 200 canisters of sulfa hidden behind a false wall in the warehouse. If he finds them, you're facing 20 years in Leavenworth. The night before the inspection, you accidentally knock over a kerosene lamp near the filing cabinets. Small fire, nothing dangerous. But the smoke damage destroys 3 months of paperwork. Hendricks is furious. He files a report about negligent storage conditions. But the audit gets delayed. By the time it happens, your contraband is gone. Sometimes you wonder if he suspected, if he just couldn't prove it. Around the same time, competition emerges. There's another American working the same territory, Sergeant Kowalski from Chicago. He thinks Naples is his. One night, 2 of his guys corner you in an alley. One has a knife. "You're cutting into our business," he says. You're terrified. But you've learned something from Don Calogero. Never show fear. "Kill me," you say, and Don Calogero will find out who did it before my body gets cold. You know what the Sicilians do to people who touch their partners? The guy with the knife hesitates. They leave. You vomit in that alley for 10 minutes. But Kowalski never bothers you again. By mid-1944, penicillin production finally ramps up. The miracle drug. It can save a soldier's life in 48 hours. It can cure infections that Sulfa can't touch. The Army guards it like gold. But you've spent a year building your network. You have access. You scale up. 3 medics in different units. 2 supply sergeants. A clerk in the medical requisition office. Everyone gets paid. Everyone keeps quiet. You're moving sulfa drugs, morphine, plasma, and now penicillin. But you learn an important lesson about cash. Paper rots in the humidity. You lose $2,000 to mold in a warehouse. Never again. Now you convert everything to gold sovereigns and small diamonds. A fortune that fits in your pocket. Don Calogero knows a jeweler in Palermo who doesn't ask questions. The jeweler takes 8%. Expensive, but he's never talked. One afternoon, a civilian doctor comes to your villa. You've sold to him before. Good customer. He's not here to buy. He's here to beg. "I have a patient, 8 years old, infected wound. I need sulfa powder. I'll pay you back, I swear." You have the sulfa, 30 packets in your back room. But tomorrow, an American colonel is paying triple for your entire stock. His mistress has a bladder infection. You tell the doctor you're out. He doesn't believe you. You can see it in his eyes. But what can he do? He leaves. A week later, you walk past his clinic. There's a black wreath on the door. You don't ask who died. You don't want to know. That's the gift of this business. You can always not know. Then comes late January 1944. Jimmy's unit gets transferred to the front near Monte Cassino. Combat medic. A British field hospital near the Gustav Line urgently requests 50 units of plasma. Soldiers are bleeding out from artillery wounds. You intercept the shipment. You have a buyer in Rome offering $3,000. That's more money than you've ever made in one deal. You delay the shipment by 36 hours. Jimmy calls you 3 weeks later. His voice is flat. "You know that plasma we diverted? 14 guys bled out waiting for it. A nurse told me. She counted the bodies." He hangs up. You never hear from Jimmy again. The number lodges in your skull like shrapnel. 14. You sit in your villa. You drink a whole bottle of Chianti. You tell yourself it's not your fault. You didn't shoot those men. You didn't cause their wounds. The delay was just business. Just 36 hours. They might have died anyway, right? But you can't sleep. You count the waves at night when you stare at the ocean. You always stop at 14. 2 months later, you get word. Jimmy stepped on a mine near Casino. He died instantly. Here's the thing. Jimmy had $4,000 in his footlocker, enough money to bribe his way to a safe posting. But he never spent it. He donated most of it to a church in Palermo. He was too guilty to keep it. You kept yours. You're still keeping it. What does that say about you? By the time the Allies liberate Rome in June 1944, you've made $180,000. That's more money than your father will earn in 3 lifetimes. It's all converted. Gold coins, uncut diamonds, hidden in 3 different locations. You have contacts in 8 Allied units. You have warehouses in 5 cities. You have forged documents that could fool a general. The war is the best thing that ever happened to you. Every battle creates demand. Every advance creates supply. You're not fighting. You're not killing. You're just facilitating commerce in a world where normal rules don't apply. Then the war ends. May 1945. Germany surrenders. The shooting stops. And overnight, your business collapses. The army doesn't need massive supply shipments anymore. They're demobilizing, sending everyone home. The black market is drying up. Don Calogero calls you to a meeting. A nice restaurant in Palermo. He pours you a glass of wine. The expensive one. He only brings out this bottle for 2 occasions. Celebrations and funerals. You're not sure which this is. You've been a good partner, he says. Like a son to me. He puts his hand on your shoulder. Warm. Fatherly. But his thumb presses into the nerve just above your collarbone. Not hard enough to hurt. Just hard enough to remind you he knows exactly where that nerve is. Go back to America, he says. Forget the names. Forget the faces. Forget everything. He releases your shoulder. We'll forget you too. You understand perfectly. Forgetting is a 2-way street. If you remember, they'll remember. And Sicilians have longer memories than anyone. The army has a point system for going home. Combat veterans first. Heroes first. Supply clerks? You wait. But you've spent 2 years forging documents. Your discharge papers say you have 87 points and a bronze star you never earned. While honest men wait 6 months for their turn, you're on the first ship out. One last crime. One last forgery. And you're gone. You carry $70,000 in diamonds sewn into your belt. The rest of the gold? You leave it buried in Sicily. It's not worth dying for. You arrive in Brooklyn in September 1945. The neighborhood throws a party. Mrs. Abramowitz from 4B, her son died at Normandy. She hugs you. Thank God you came home safe, she cries. You pat her back. Her son was infantry. He probably needed plasma at some point. Morphine for the pain, sulfa for his wounds. You wonder if the supplies you diverted ever rippled north to France. You'll never know. That's the black market's greatest gift. Plausible deniability. Even from yourself. You smile. You accept a plate of lasagna. It tastes like ash, but you eat it anyway. And you say thank you. You buy a house with cash. You tell your parents you saved your military salary and got lucky with investments. They believe you because they want to. You get a job at your uncle's import business. Legitimate work, boring work, safe work. You meet a girl, nice family. You get married. You've been married 14 months when your first son is born. The number again. Always the number. You have kids, grandchildren. You never tell them about the war. What would you say? That daddy made a fortune while soldiers died? Decades pass. You're successful, respected, a pillar of the community. You donate to veterans' causes. It eases the guilt, a little. You're 82 years old now. You're dying. Cancer. The doctor gives you 6 months. Your grandchildren visit. Your grandson just turned 14. You close your eyes. Some numbers never leave you. At night, in the hospital, you think about the choices. You could have said no. You could have just done your job, counted crates and filed paperwork, and gone home after the war with nothing but a handshake and a thank you. But you wanted more. You wanted to be smarter than everyone else. You wanted to win. And you did win. You made a fortune. You lived well. You provided for your family. But 14 soldiers bled out waiting for plasma you diverted. Jimmy died with guilt he couldn't shake. A child died because you told their doctor you were out of sulfa when you had 30 packets in your back room. The math is impossible. The guilt is permanent. You weren't a soldier. You weren't a killer. You were just a businessman, a facilitator, a middleman. But war doesn't care about technicalities. People died. and you got rich. Those two facts are connected. You know they are. They call you a veteran. They call you a success story. The immigrant kid who made good. If they only knew. If they knew that your empire was built on delays and forgeries and stolen medicine. If they knew that the villa you bought was paid for with supplies meant for dying soldiers. But they don't know. They never will. Because you're the only one left who remembers. And soon, you'll be gone too. The secret dies with you. You close your eyes. You count one last time. You always stop at 14. If this story made you uncomfortable, good. Because this happened. Thousands of times. In every war. People who never fired a shot but profited from the chaos. If you want to understand the other side of war, the side they don't put in history books, subscribe. There are more stories like this. Stories about the people who won while soldiers died.